Hi, I'm Raymond. Welcome to Crimson Kitchen. Of all the different nationalities of delicious foods out there, Mexican seems to be very often near the top of people's list of favorites. And I think that's because of all the delicious, zesty, robust spices that are used in Mexican food. Well, today we're going to make enchiladas with a deep, rich, hearty, earthy, homemade sauce that are delicious and filling. If you're on a ketogenic or any sort of low-carb diet, you may be shocked to realize that the enchiladas that we're going to make today fit perfectly well with that diet. Just check the macros in the description. I think you may never make enchiladas with a canned sauce again. I can't wait to share these with you, so let's get started. All right, let's take a look at our ingredients. We've got quite a few. I'm going to put them up on the screen right here. And then I'm also going to put them in the description. Let's look at the things we're going to use in the sauce first. We're going to use 3 tablespoons of avocado oil, a teaspoon of oregano. I'm using fresh oregano here. You can use the dried oregano from the spice aisle if you prefer. That works just as well. I just really like fresh herbs. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of ground cumin, 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 1 29-ounce can of tomato puree. Different brands sell this in slightly different sizes, but regardless of the brand, you can almost always find it in somewhere between a 28 and a 30-ounce size, and that's what you want. We're going to use a tablespoon of minced garlic. I'm using the pre-minced garlic here. Of course, you may well want to just mince up a couple of cloves of garlic yourself. We're going to use a cup of beef broth. Use garlic salt to taste. I usually end up with about a tablespoon in mine, but you may just want to add it a teaspoon at a time and just continue to taste until you get as much of this as you like. Then we're going to use a pound of ground beef. I'm using the 93.7 here. If you use a ground beef with a higher fat content, you may have to drain it a little bit before you add the sauce. Then we're going to use a medium-sized white onion, a cup of sliced baby bella mushrooms, a cup and a half of shredded cheddar cheese, about an ounce of sliced black olives. I use about a half of one of these small 2 1/4 ounce cans. We're going to use 8 flour tortillas. Get the medium-sized ones. These are 8-inch. Notice here that I'm using the Mission Carb Balance flour tortillas. These are what's making the enchiladas that we're making today keto friendly. You can make these enchiladas with any tortillas you want, and if you're not on a low-carb diet or you're not watching your carbs, and it really doesn't matter, but if you are watching your carbs, I highly recommend these. These are just fantastic. And then lastly, we're going to use a couple of tablespoons of sour cream. Okay guys, that's it. I don't think I've missed anything. Check the ingredients that I had put on the screen and also check in the description. If I've missed anything here, I will include them there. I don't think I have, but if I have, I will include them there. But I think that's it. So let's go ahead and get started making these awesome, delicious enchiladas. Let's start by setting our stove to a medium heat. In a 10-inch saucepan, add 3 tablespoons of avocado oil. Let's let that avocado oil heat up for just a few minutes and we'll go chop our oregano. And while that's heating up, let's go ahead and chop our fresh oregano. I'm going to tear the tender leaves off of that thick middle stem portion. We only need about a teaspoon's worth here. Just gather it all up and just chop it. Just chop right into the pile of it. And that looks like it might be a little bit more than a teaspoon. Not much more. Call it a heaping teaspoon. Yeah, we're just going to call that a heaping teaspoon and go with it. All right, we've given that oil a few minutes to heat up, and let's go ahead and add our heaping teaspoon of fresh oregano there. Then we're going to add 2 whole tablespoons of chili powder. And 2 whole tablespoons of cumin. Give that a good stir. Let that cook over that medium heat for about 2 minutes. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes, and let's go ahead and add a tablespoon of minced garlic. I like to use this pre-minced garlic, but you can certainly just mince one up yourself. And then let's give this a stir. And let's give this about another minute to let some of that good aroma and flavor start to cook out of that garlic. Okay, it's been about a minute. Let's go ahead and add our 28-ounce can of tomato puree. Add that tomato puree and then just give this a good stir. Now let's add a half a cup of beef broth. Stir that in real good as you add it. A lot of enchilada sauces call for flour or cornstarch as a thickening agent. I like to try to avoid those things. I like to try to avoid all the carbs that are in those things. So that's why I use tomato puree instead of tomato sauce. And I just add the beef broth slowly until I get to about the thickness that I want, maybe a little thinner than I want, because we're going to let it simmer for a bit, which will cause it to thicken up as well. Okay, that's about 3/4 of a cup there. Let's go for a full cup here. And let's go ahead and add a half a tablespoon of garlic salt. You can add more or less, just depending on your taste. Stir that in there real good. Fair warning here, this tomato puree is very thick, and when it starts to boil, it will get very splashy. So just when it starts, we're going to back off that heat. Just let it come to a gentle boil, very gentle. Okay, it's been just a couple of minutes here, and you see how maybe you can see how it's kind of bubbling like lava. You know, it's very, very thick. So give that a stir here and back that heat down to a low heat. Now while that sauce is simmering, let's take a 12-inch pan, turn our stove to a medium heat. Let's go ahead and take a tablespoon of avocado oil and let it be heating up over that medium heat. You can see where my enchilada sauce is getting very splashy here. Careful, that stuff will splash on you, and it's quite hot. If you have a grated cover to prevent splashing, that's very helpful here. Or if you don't need it to thicken up very much, you can just go ahead and cover it. That will prevent it somewhat from thickening up, but I think it's plenty thick enough already. That's one reason why it's splashing so heavily. Now while that sauce is simmering, let's go ahead and dice a medium-sized onion. Let's take about a cup of sliced baby bella mushrooms and chop them up. Not too fine. You want good chunks of them, good big chunks of them. All right, we've let that oil heat up while we chop these. Let's just go ahead and add these to that oil. Let them cook for just a couple of minutes. Just watch them until the onions just begin to caramelize and the mushrooms just begin to release their water. Let's go ahead and set our oven to 375 degrees and let it be preheating. Okay, we've given those onions and mushrooms a few minutes here in that avocado oil, and you can see those mushrooms are starting to release their water. Those onions are softening up, and the aromas in this kitchen are just getting awesome, man. I mean, it just smells so good in here. So let's go ahead and add our pound of ground beef. Let's get that all mixed up there real good. And then let's go ahead and add about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of garlic salt. Now let's break this ground beef up and mix this up a little bit more here as we go. I am trying not to, but I am making a little bit of a mess for the camera here as I go, so I apologize for that. Okay, we've given this enchilada sauce about 15 minutes here, and that looks really good. For the final ingredient here, for the finishing touch, I like to add a tablespoon of lime juice. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off. I'm gonna let it sit on the stove as the stove cools, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off and cover that up. That's ready. Okay, we've let that ground beef brown. Looks good, it smells good. Now we're going to take our enchilada sauce. We'll take a cup of it, a cup of this enchilada sauce, and mix it in there with that ground beef. Just pour it right in there. Just a cup. I got an extra little scoop there because I couldn't quite get a cup. Couldn't quite scoop up a cup out of the saucepan. Yeah, but just put a cup in there with it. Mix that up real good. Now let's take a 13-inch baking pan and spray it. Spray the bottom of it with a little bit of olive oil spray. Take this enchilada sauce and pour it in there, just enough of it that it covers the bottom of the pan. Shake it around like that, get the bottom of the pan covered. There we go. Now for this next part, I like to use a paper plate. What we're going to want to do is take our tortillas one at a time, put them on the paper plate, then take a 1/4 cup of this ground beef and enchilada sauce mixture, put it right along the center of that tortilla. Then take about a tablespoon of the shredded cheddar cheese, put it on there right along the top. And we're going to roll that tortilla up and put it in that pan right up against the edge like that, with the crease at the bottom. And we're going to do that same thing for all 8 of our tortillas. When you get done, you'll probably have a little of this beef mixture left. That's okay. Just add it to the sauce, like so. Mix it in there. Then take all of that and just pour it right over the top of the enchiladas. I like to spread it out a little bit. It'll spread out as it cooks as well, but I like to just go ahead and spread it out a little bit. Now I'll take a cup of cheddar cheese, just spread it all over the top, like this. All over the top. Now take your black olive slices and sprinkle those over the top. About an ounce of black olives. Now I'm going to take that whole thing and put it in our preheated oven for about 20 minutes. All right, it's been 20 minutes. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah. I like to use 2 spatulas here because these things tend to try to make a mess when you serve them up. And remember, be very, very careful of that oven pan. It is super hot. Oh yeah. Okay guys, there it is. There are our homemade enchiladas, and I think they look delicious if I do say so myself. Can't wait to give them a taste. We'll talk about those side dishes here in just a moment. All right, my friends, so finally we arrive at the good part. I can tell you that very often when I make enchiladas, I make them using the canned enchilada sauce, which, you know, it's okay if you want to, you know, if you need to make them quick, but I really enjoy cooking things from scratch. And this recipe is a Crimson Kitchen original. Almost every other enchilada sauce recipe you're gonna find uses flour or cornstarch to thicken the sauce up. And that's why we use the tomato puree, and we don't use as much broth as most of the recipes out there that you're gonna find. And also I use a little more cumin and some other things, but this is a Crimson Kitchen original, and I hope you'll give it a try, and we're gonna give it a try right now.
Yes, we are.
You like?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this as well, guys. Usually when I put the macros on the screen and I put the serving size up there, usually I'm a little stingy with that. So if I say something makes 4 servings, really for me and Jordan, it usually makes 2. But in this particular case, this legitimately is 4 servings. That is these, yeah, they're very filling, very, what's the word?
Hearty?
Hearty. They're very hearty, very filling. So, you know, you make a pan of 8 of these and you can legitimately feed 4 people, particularly if you make some side dishes like we've made here. Let's talk about the sides here. I didn't show this when I was serving it up, but I put about a tablespoon and a half of sour cream on mine, not Jordan's because he doesn't like sour cream. And then for our side dishes, I've got the little tortilla chips, the light, flaky, crispy, homemade tortilla chips. I've got a video on that right here. You should check that out. And then also I've got a little guacamole salad on the side here, where I'm using a little shredded lettuce, and then I'm topping that with some homemade pico de gallo. And I've got a video on that right here, if you want to check that out. And then it's a guacamole salad, and topping that off, I got a little tablespoon of awesome, zesty, homemade guacamole. And if you want to check that out, I've got a video on that right here. So the whole meal, you could, if you want to step back through my videos and see everything here, I've got a video on all of this. So what do you think, Jordan? I would say it's zestier than like the canned sauce. Much more robust kind of flavor, wouldn't you? Don't you think?
It's definitely better.
It's a good bit thicker, if you've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's thick, and it's got a, yeah, it's nice and thick, and that zesty, robust, earthy flavor comes through. We use a lot of cumin in this recipe. I love cumin. A lot of people think chili powder is the thing that gives chili its distinctive flavor, but really it's the cumin. And I just think it's a wonderful spice. And so we use a lot of it in this recipe, and it gives it a very zesty, earthy flavor. So my friends, I really appreciate you joining us here on Crimson Kitchen. I do hope you'll give this a try, and please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. If you're getting anything out of this, please remember to like and favorite and subscribe and all of those things. I'm really trying to grow this channel, and I appreciate you guys very much, man. My subscribers, I just love you guys. I hope you're sitting down and enjoying your dinner, and we're gonna go ahead and continue enjoying ours. This is Raymond.
This is Jordan.
And we'll see you next time on Crimson. Let's do it better than that. We'll see you next time on Crimson Kitchen. Bye.
You know what you should make again?
What?
That spaghetti with the green olives in there. That was whenever I first started liking olives.
Was that homemade sauce?
Can't remember. What do I eat these? What do I eat on these? The guacamole salad?
You can eat the guacamole salad. You can
I'll just put
eat some of that leftover stuff. You can put some garlic ranch dressing on them.
No, I'm just going to put guacamole on.
Guacamole or pico de gallo. There's a whole bowl of pico de gallo over there.
Guacamole, my favorite. Guacamole, my favorite. I taste some sweetness in these.
It's just whatever's in the chip. I didn't add anything sweet.
It'd be like natural sugars from something that you put in there?
It could be natural sugars from the wheat. Yeah, I taste it too now that you mention it.
It's good.
Yeah, I don't like sweet stuff mixed in with my tangy and my savory stuff. But I mean, it's just a little teeny hint of sweet.
And it's like not a sugary sweet.
Yeah.
It's like it's sugar, obviously. That's what
But it's like a natural sugar kind of sweet, not like an added sugar kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Those are filling, man.
I was really hungry, and I've eaten 1.5. And now I'm not like full, but like if I stopped eating, it'd be okay. Like I'm satisfied. But
I'm about stuffed. That kitchen is a disaster, man.
And it was clean when you started?
Spotless. I was about to start a video, spick and span. Oh, I'm full, man. God damn. All right, let me go stop that video.